Right, time to talk to our second live guest, Anthony McGrath, head coach of Yorkshire. Um, After a great run and great times, I would think, as head coach of Essex. Mags, the obvious question is, was it hard to leave? Was it a wrench? And would you have gone anywhere else apart from Yorkshire?
It was tough to leave, yeah. As you mentioned, had some great times there. About 10 years, it seemed to have gone so quick. And yeah, I guess a bit of success we've had. And the people in general, it's a fantastic club. So it was a really, really difficult decision. And I think, um, as you just pointed out, the thing that swung it probably was Yorkshire. And, having played here for many years and family still there and things like that. And I think the challenge ahead was something that was going to be difficult to pass up. So that ultimately was the choice I made.
Mag's interesting time, both Essex and Yorkshire. Essex are probably not far from a little bit of a rebuild. A few experienced players. Cookie went a few years ago. Some experienced players bringing some young players in, and go to Yorkshire. And obviously, we don't want to go over the sort of problems I've had in the past, but getting back into the first division, you've got a lot of young players, and it seems as though that's a developing, ongoing project. So it seems exciting times for both parties. Was it probably the right time for you to go to Yorkshire, let Essex have their rebuild, and you be part of what is exciting times back in the first division from what is, no disrespect to Essex, a big county?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's always a difficult one. When do you leave a particular place? I mean, normally in sport, you normally you get moved on or pushed on. So I guess a nice decision to have, but you can kind of outstay your welcome in many times. And I think 9 years is a good period. 10 years is a good period of time at one club, and I think it is right for Essex. New voice. Obviously, Chris Silverwood coming back with huge experience, and yeah, probably a good period in time for them to start again and have a look what's next. And for me as well, a new challenge. To test myself in albeit a familiar environment. It is new because I've not been around and seen a lot of these players, but it's very exciting, Army. As you said, the young players have probably had some real good experience now over the last 2 or 3 years. They've been thrown in when they probably weren't ready, so they've had some good and bad experiences. But the way they finished in Division 2 last year to get promoted is really, really exciting. I think there's a group of 5 or 6 of them now who are very, very talented and are wanting to push on to that second part of their career and push for international and franchise honours. And given the experienced guys we've got and a sprinkling of magic dust with the English players we've got, if we do get them at some point, it is a really exciting time for the club.
Well, Jonny Bairstow is going to be available at the beginning of the season, isn't he? I know that you coaches take jobs to win things, to win titles. I mean, I suppose the reality, and I can say it, maybe you can't, but it'll be a 2 or 3 year project, won't it? I mean, do you see challenging for the championship this year, challenging for silverware? As I said, you always want to do that, but you'll have a rebuild to do first, won't you?
No, I'd say it the other way. I honestly think we can challenge. That's one of the reasons for taking the job as well. I mean, I'm always reluctant to kind of give yourself an excuse of a transition. As I said to Am just a second ago, I think the players have kind of had that transition in their career and they're ready to really, be a part of the team and be a consistent part of the team. And I think at a club like Yorkshire, you can't go through transition. I think if that's the message to the players, then that almost gives them a little bit of an excuse. So to players and staff, we have to, one, believe, and two, put in performances that can challenge for the championship and T20. Obviously, the 50 over is a little bit different because you do lose a lot of players, but I think we have got a good core of squad, and adding in, hopefully a couple of good overseas players, then yeah, I believe that we can challenge.
You mentioned overseas players. I think there's 1 or 2 counties. I think Lancashire fell foul last year. I think Yorkshire had a decent. I mean, Sean I thought was excellent for Yorkshire last year. I think Lancashire fell foul of maybe he's not having the best of overseas, and they subsequently had a struggle and they went down. But you've got Jonny Bairstow back. First of all, what's it going to be like to have Jonny probably full time for the first part of what is the championship, the Red Bull part of the summer, and then what you're looking for in your overseas, because it just seems as though the teams that got the overseas right, and you've had it for years at Essex with Harmer. If you get that overseas right, they're worth their weight in gold at getting you to the top end or propelling you to the top end of the table.
Yeah, well, firstly on overseas, you're absolutely right. It's getting increasingly harder every year with this competitions and franchise going on every part of the globe in the monthly. So gone are the days we're probably lucky at Essex, we having Harmy completely there all the time. So I think you do need the best you can get, but for as long a period as you can. The PSL being running alongside the IPL this year doesn't help. But if you look at the makeup of our squad, we need bowlers. You know, we've lost a couple of bowlers. So overseas bowlers we're looking for in each form. We've not quite got there as yet, but hopefully in the next few weeks, now the PSL draft has come along, there's going to be the IPL replacement players, so that will take a few out. But we're concentrating on bowlers in Championship and T20 really. And as you say, if we get that right, I believe that's going to be a huge part of our strategy going forward. And then second part with Jonny, I think, look, there's still a chance he might get called up by the IPL with the replacement stuff. But if he's here, I mean, it's going to be massive for us to have a Jonny Bairstow playing for you in all forms potentially is very, very exciting. Obviously, he's still, you know, wants to get back in the England setup. And I think if he can put performances in, you never know. But he's still absolutely quality, his box office. And not only his performances on the pitch, I think it gives us a huge lift off the field as well.
Mags, two questions from me. You can take your pick or answer them both. I'm fascinated to know your views on the ECB's change on its stance with NoCs, non-objection certificates, trying to I mean, I don't know whether it's enforceable. I'm a little bit skeptical. I think it's an honourable attempt to strengthen the authenticity, or I suppose, of the championship, and not have players coming and going around the world. There's that, and I'd love a word about David Milan, who signed a white ball contract but is still available for red ball cricket, which I think is interesting.
Shall I take David first? That's probably an easier one. Yeah, he has signed a white ball. He didn't play red ball last year, but the chats we had before he went away to Bangladesh, he's keen to play some red ball cricket again. Now he's lost his England kind of one-day contract. He hasn't been picked up in the PSL, so he will be available early season. He is still white ball contracted, so, you know, maybe at some point we won't see him, but it'd be good to have him early season. He's still a absolutely quality player, as we've just spoke about Jonny. So to have him early season is going to be really exciting. We're going to have to manage him, you know, throughout the year, but at least we know we're going to have him early season. So that's one big positive again. On the NoC, look, I don't know the legality or ins and outs. I get why it's been done, as you said, to protect the value of the domestic season. I think it probably just needs a little bit more ironing out, I guess. I mean, I know there's a few frustrated players around. I'm sure it might change depending who you speak to. But I think it's inevitable, these conversations. With the ever-changing landscape of cricket, we're going to have to find a way of making people available for English county cricket, because it's getting harder and harder, not just for overseas players, but our domestic players as well. If they're going to be offered all this money in franchise league, it's bloody difficult to turn down. So I get it from both sides. I'm not trying to sit on the fence, but I mean, it's going to be a brave man who eventually solves this problem, if it is solvable.
And finally, from me, Mags, what's on the horizon for Yorkshire? You've got your sort of feet under the table. You're ready to give the players the pre-season, getting ready for the season. What is on the horizon? Are you got an overseas pre-season? Are you going anywhere ready for that first game? And which is obviously the first sort of 6-8 weeks of the championship season is always pretty congested.
Yeah, 7 games in 8 weeks. It's a tough one, but an exciting one at that. It shapes your season. I think if you're in the mix after that, you've got a really good chance for that second part of the year. We've got a pre-season tour to Abu Dhabi, so we'll be out of the Yorkshire sun for a couple of weeks instead of the East Stand, which is always good. I've been used to a bit of warmer weather in Essex. I didn't realise consistently how cold it was. You know better than anyone. I'm in Durham, so
Tell me
it's.
about
I was an adopted Southerner for 10 years, but anyway, we're going to Abu Dhabi, which will be really good because it's probably first time we'll have all the squad together, and we've got a new set of coaches as well. So to get everyone together ahead of the season is really, really important, not just on the field, but to get that camaraderie off it. But the main focus now is to get some overseas players in. I think that's going to be critical, as you flagged up a few minutes ago. So we're working really hard at that. Hopefully in a couple of weeks we'll have that part of the jigsaw solved. And if we get that right, I think we can be a force this year. And I think it's exciting. It's going to be a really enjoyable season to be part of.